This video aims to help parents of 6th class students in the Limerick area in filling out the Common Application System form. This will go through the form page by page and will give you a checklist of the things that you need to do for each page. On page number 1, you will see at the top there that it asks you to read the CAS information leaflet and the privacy notice. If you haven't seen these, you can follow the QR code below on the bottom right and it will bring you to our school website where all of these documents are available. On the second point, it tells us that the closing date for the applications is 12:30 p.m. on the 13th of January and that your application forms should be handed in to the school that you have marked as your number 1 choice. Part 3 deals with the applicant's personal details. In this section, the parent and guardian must fill in the personal details of the student who is applying for the place. In Part 4, the primary school name and the primary school address must be included. In Part 5, the parent and guardian must input their own personal details, making sure that there is a contact number and an email available for the school. Part 6 deals with the previous schools that the parent or the guardian have attended. So the name of the parent and guardian and the school and the years of attendance should be filled in here. On page 2 of the application form, parents in Part 1 should fill in all of the siblings that are currently enrolled in a secondary school in Limerick, and similarly in Part 2 they should fill in all siblings that have previously been enrolled in a secondary school in Limerick. Part 3, Making Your Choices, gives you more information on how to make your choices in the application form. It notes that you should review the admissions policy and admissions notices for each school, which are normally available on the school website, and also notes that you should indicate 11 schools in order of preference, i.e. that the top school is number 1, the second school is number 2, and that goes all the way to number 11. This section then goes on to describe page 4, which we will talk about in more detail later in the video, and also describes how the decisions in relation to enrolment are made by the individual school, and any queries in relation to enrolment should go to the school and not to the Limerick Education Support Centre. Page 3 is where parents are going to place their choices for their schools numbers 1 to 11. In the box noted, you must place the numbers 1 to 11, again with number 1 being the first choice, 2 being the second, all the way down as far as 11. Part 2 notes that this application form must be handed in to the principal of the school at number 1 by 12:30 on Monday, the 13th of January 2025, and that the school will acknowledge the receipt of your form. It also notes that if you do not receive an acknowledgement, that you should contact the school directly before the closing date to receive it. Part 4 of the form instructs parents to go to page 4 and to fill out consent forms A and B. Page 4 deals with the sharing of data. When you hand your application form into your school of first choice, that school becomes the data controller of all of the data contained within the application form. Part A deals with the ability for the school to share the data with the education centre, and by ticking 2, you are giving the school the permission to do that. You must also place the student's name in the space allotted. If you tick number 3, I do not consent, then the school as data controller does not have the ability to pass the information in the application form to the education centre. If the student does not get a place in his first choice, that means that the application will not be able to be sent to the education centre to be considered for second, third, fourth, and so on. Part B similarly then gives permission for the education centre to pass the data onto the other schools that are listed on your preference sheet. So you must tick I consent to Limerick Education Support Centre and put in the student's name there, and that will allow the education centre to pass on the data that's contained in the form to the other schools so that they may consider the application. If a parent does not consent to the sharing of data in A or B, then there is a possibility that if there is not a place in school number 1, that the student will not secure a place in a post-primary school in the Common Application System area. Therefore, if you want to be considered for your second, third and fourth, etc. choices, then you must tick I consent at 2 and I consent at 4, and the parent and guardians must sign and date both section A and B labelled 6 here. So in all, parents should have signed the Common Application System form 3 times. So to summarise, there are a number of important forms that must be read by the parents and guardians in the Common Application System. All of these can be found on our website at www.stclements.ie. Alternatively, you can scan the QR code in the bottom right hand corner, which will bring you directly to our website. The 3 forms that you must read are the CAS application form itself, which you fill in, and within this form you must make sure that you have signed 3 times in the appropriate places, placed your numbers from 1 to 11, and have consented for the data to be shared by the school and also by the Limerick Education Centre. You must also read the CAS information leaflet and the CAS privacy notices. On our website you will also find our admissions policy and our admissions notice. So the important notes. When is the deadline? All application forms must be handed in by 12:30 on the 13th of January 2025. Where do you bring your form? To your school of your first choice. Who do I give it to? You give it to the principal of the school, and this will often be facilitated by the administrative staff or the receptionists within the school. Will you receive anything when you bring your form in? You should receive a receipt of the form being accepted. If you don't, it's important to contact the school directly to get this before the deadline. We do hope this video was helpful, and all of us here in St. Clements are looking forward to welcoming our first years in September 2025.